The starship glided silently through the purple mist of Zythera's upper atmosphere. Captain Elias Ward stood on the observation deck, hands clasped behind his back, eyes fixed on the alien world below. The planet's surface shimmered with forests that glowed faintly in the dim light of its twin suns. Rivers of liquid crystal curved through valleys like silver ribbons, and towering structures of unknown metal pierced the sky, twisting and bending in ways human engineering could not match. Elias had visited many worlds, but Zythera was different. It was beautiful, dangerous, and alive in ways he could feel in his bones. For decades, humans had tried to make contact with the Zytherans. Most attempts ended in silence or hostility, but today he was not here as an explorer or a conqueror. He was here as a representative of Earth, hoping to open a fragile line of communication with the alien queen, who ruled this planet with unmatched authority. "Captain," said Lieutenant Mara Chen, stepping beside him. Her voice was soft but steady. "We're approaching the landing zone. The Queen's escort is waiting." Elias nodded. "Good. Let's hope she's willing to talk this time." The shuttle touched down on a platform that hovered above the crystal rivers. As the doors opened, Elias felt the planet's energy wash over him. There was a hum in the air, not mechanical, not natural, something between a heartbeat and a whisper. He took a deep breath, letting the sensation settle in his chest. The Queen's palace rose before them, an impossibly tall structure made of a shimmering silver material that seemed to bend light. Its spires twisted upward, reflecting the twin suns, and its surface rippled like water. Guards, taller and more imposing than any human, flanked the entrance. Their eyes glowed faintly, like embers, and their movements were fluid and precise. A deep voice echoed in the courtyard. "You may enter, human." Elias stepped forward, his expression calm. He was used to tension, but even he felt a flicker of awe at the alien queen's presence. Queen Solara emerged from the palace doors, her form tall and elegant, her skin a pale silver that shimmered under the sunlight. Her eyes, deep and violet, scanned the humans with a mixture of curiosity and caution. "Captain Ward," she said, her voice melodic but firm. "Your presence here is unexpected." "We come with respect," Elias replied. "Our people wish to build understanding, not conflict." Solara tilted her head, observing him. "Words are easy. Actions are harder. Zythera has seen many promises from your kind. None have lasted." Elias kept his gaze steady. "I know, but I hope today can be different." The Queen nodded slightly and gestured toward the palace interior. "Follow me, but understand this. One wrong move, and your visit ends before it begins."
Inside, the palace was even more astonishing.
The walls pulsed faintly, almost as if they were alive, and soft light flowed from them, illuminating corridors lined with alien symbols. Elias felt both overwhelmed and mesmerized. He had studied alien architecture before, but nothing compared to this. As they walked, a soft sound caught his attention. A small figure peeked from behind a pillar. It was a child, perhaps 6 or 7 years old, with silver-tinted skin like the Queen, but with eyes that held a strange warmth and curiosity. The child watched him intently, stepping back whenever someone approached. Elias slowed his pace and crouched slightly. "Hey there," he said gently. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." The child didn't respond, only watching. There was something familiar in the way the little one's eyes lingered on him, a tug in Elias's chest he couldn't explain. The Queen noticed his glance and stiffened. "Do not involve her," she said sharply. "She is not part of this meeting." "I wasn't," Elias began, but the child moved suddenly, taking a step toward him. Solara's hand rose, but before she could act, an alarm blared through the palace. Red lights flashed, and a deep vibration ran through the floor. Guards shouted, rushing to their stations. "What's happening?" Elias asked, instinctively moving toward the child. "A security breach," Solara said, her voice tight. "A faction within the palace seeks to challenge me. They may try to harm the child." Elias felt a surge of protectiveness he didn't expect. He glanced at the child again, and for a moment the child looked at him and smiled faintly, as if recognizing something. Then, without warning, the child ran. "Wait!" Elias shouted, sprinting after her. The corridors twisted and turned in ways that seemed impossible, but the child moved with surprising speed and confidence. Elias's heart pounded in his chest, but he refused to falter. When he rounded the final corner, the child stood before him, panting slightly, eyes wide with fear and hope. "Father," the child whispered. Elias froze, his mind racing. Father? That wasn't possible. He had never met this child. And yet, looking into those eyes, he felt a connection so strong it left him breathless. Queen Solara appeared behind him, her expression unreadable. She froze, staring at the scene, and for the first time, Elias saw vulnerability in her posture. "Impossible," she whispered. I don't understand," Elias said softly, keeping his hands raised. "Who is this child?" "She is my grandchild," Solara said, her voice shaking slightly. "And you are not her father. This cannot be." The child clung to Elias's leg, looking up at him with trust and hope. "Father," she repeated. Elias knelt slowly, careful not to startle her. "I don't know what this means, little one," he said gently.
"But I will protect you." Solara's eyes filled with conflicting emotions.
Pride, fear, disbelief, and something else. Something she hadn't felt in centuries. She looked at her grandchild, then at Elias.
"If this is true, if she recognizes you, everything will change."
Elias's mind raced? A child calling him father on an alien planet? There had to be an explanation, some secret hidden in history or in genetic records. But he had no time to think. Outside, the palace was in chaos. Guards were shouting, alarms blaring, and the rogue faction's movements could be seen in the distance. "Take her to safety," Solara ordered, her voice regaining authority. "I will handle this." "I won't leave her alone," Elias said firmly. The Queen's eyes softened slightly. "Then we go together. But understand, Captain, this is not just about the child. It is about the future of Zythera, and yours." As they moved through the palace, the child clung to Elias's hand, her grip tight but trusting. For a moment, the chaos around them faded. He looked down at her and felt a strange mixture of awe and responsibility. Whoever she was, she had chosen him, and he would not fail her. The corridors opened into a grand hall where the rogue faction had begun its attack. Elias and the child ducked behind a crystalline pillar as energy weapons fired past them, lighting the hall with bursts of blue and green. Solara's guards engaged the intruders, moving with precision and strength beyond human ability. Elias's heart raced. He had trained for combat, for danger, for the unknown. But nothing had prepared him for this, a child calling him father in the middle of an alien uprising. He glanced at her again, and she smiled faintly, as if to reassure him. "We need to move," Elias said. "Stay close." The child nodded, gripping his hand tightly. Together they navigated the hall, slipping past chaos, guided by Solara's strategic commands. Every step brought them closer to safety, and every moment Elias spent near the child deepened the inexplicable bond he felt. Finally, they reached a side chamber, hidden from view. The child pressed herself against the wall, catching her breath. Elias knelt beside her. "You're safe for now," he said gently. "Can you tell me your name?" "Leora," she whispered. Elias repeated the name softly.
Leora? I will protect you, Leora. I promise.
Celara entered the chamber, her expression still wary but tinged with awe.
It seems fate has brought you together, she said quietly.
I do not understand it, but I cannot deny it. Elias nodded. Neither can I, but I know one thing. I won't abandon her. The queen looked at the child, then at Elias, and finally exhaled, as if making a decision. Then you will stay close. But remember, Captain, this is only the beginning. Zithra's history is about to change, and the bonds you form here will shape it for generations. Elias felt a mix of fear and determination. The child's trust in him, the queen's acknowledgement, the chaos surrounding them. It all pointed to something greater than either of them. And as he looked down at Leora, he realized that whatever mysteries lay ahead, he had found a reason to face them. For the first time in his life, Elias Ward felt the weight of destiny settle gently on his shoulders, and in the center of it, a small alien child clung to him, calling him father, and believing without question that he would protect her. Outside, the palace roared with the sounds of struggle, but inside the hidden chamber, Elias, Leora, and Celara shared a fragile moment of understanding. In that instant, everything felt possible and terrifyingly real. And so, the human and the alien child began a journey that would shake worlds, challenge traditions, and prove that even across the stars, family could be found in the most unexpected places. The hidden chamber smelled faintly of metal and ozone, a byproduct of the energy barriers Celara had activated to keep the rogue faction from discovering them. Leora clung to Elias's hand, her small fingers trembling slightly. He led her to a corner, where a smooth platform served as a seat, and gently encouraged her to sit. You're safe for now, he said, kneeling in front of her. Can you tell me why you called me father? Leora looked down at her lap, twisting a strand of silver hair. I don't know, she whispered. I just knew. Elias felt a shiver run through him. He had spent years encountering strange worlds and even stranger creatures, but this certainty in a child he had never met was unlike anything he had experienced. He tried to find a logical explanation. Perhaps some experiment in Zithran biology had created a connection he didn't yet understand. Celara, still standing near the entrance, watched silently. Her eyes were narrowed, though there was an unmistakable curiosity in them. After a long pause, she spoke. You do not understand, human. This child, she should not recognize you. She is Zithran, a part of my lineage, bound to the traditions of my people. You have no claim here. Elias kept his voice calm, though his heart pounded. I don't claim anything. I only know that she trusts me, and I will not let anyone harm her.
The queen's expression softened just enough to show the faintest glimmer of vulnerability.
Trust is powerful, she said quietly, perhaps too powerful for one so young. For a moment, silence filled the chamber. Outside, the shouts and the energy blasts continued, a reminder that the rogue faction still threatened them. Elias glanced at Leora. We need to find out why they attacked, he said. Do you know anything about them? Leora shook her head. I only know they don't like my grandmother.
And they don't like me either.
Celara's eyes darkened. The faction you see is a remnant of those who do not accept change. They see the old ways as sacred and fear what this human presence could mean. But they underestimate the bond you share with Leora. That bond may be the key to peace. Elias tilted his head. Peace?
You mean with humans?
The queen nodded. For centuries, we have observed your species. We have seen both potential and danger. Most of my advisors argue that humans are reckless, untrustworthy, and weak. And yet, perhaps, there is something different about you. Elias felt a small surge of pride, though he did not let it show. I won't betray that trust, he said. Not hers, not yours. Leora watched him carefully, her eyes wide with wonder. You're not afraid, she asked softly. Elias smiled, though it was faint. Of course, I'm afraid, he admitted. But courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting, despite it. For the first time, Leora's expression softened. She reached out and held his hand again, a quiet affirmation of her trust. Elias returned her grip, feeling a strange warmth, a connection that went beyond words. Solara finally spoke again.
You must understand something, Captain.
Zithra has secrets, old secrets. Leora is not only my grandchild. She carries the legacy of a project that began long ago, one that involved humans and Zithrans together. It was meant to bridge our worlds. It was hidden because some feared its consequences. Elias frowned. A project? What kind of project? The details are complicated, Solara admitted. But the child is a living bridge between our species. That is why the faction attacks her. They believe she represents a change too dangerous to accept. And that is why she called you father. There is a connection, biological, spiritual, perhaps both, that transcends what your kind understands.
Elias swallowed hard.
A bridge between species, a living symbol of unity. And she had chosen him, instinctively, without hesitation. His mind raced with possibilities, with questions he might never be able to answer. But one thing was clear. He could not fail her. The chamber shook as another blast struck nearby. The rogue faction was relentless. Solara raised her hand, activating a barrier that shimmered like liquid glass, separating them from the threat outside. The energy field hummed, casting reflections across the chamber. You need to learn quickly, Solara said. The faction will not give you time to hesitate. Leora's safety depends on both of us working together. Elias nodded. Then teach me! Tell me everything I need to know! For the next several hours, the Queen explained what she could. She spoke of Zithran history, the factions that challenged her rule, and the secret project that had created Leora. Humans and Zithrans had once collaborated in a hidden laboratory, combining human ingenuity and Zithran biology to create hybrids capable of understanding both worlds. The project had been abandoned due to fear of its potential. Leora, however, was the success. A child with the instincts of both species.
You see why she is important, Solara said, her voice grave. Her existence challenges old beliefs.
It threatens those who cling to tradition. And yet, she may be the only hope for harmony between our people. Elias nodded, absorbing every word. Then, we have to protect her, no matter what. The child, Leora, listened quietly, her wide eyes taking in every detail. Though she was young, she seemed to understand the gravity of the situation. She looked at Elias and said, Then we can do it together. Elias felt a swell of emotion. Her confidence, her trust, it was humbling. Yes, he said firmly. Together. As the hours passed, the chamber became a temporary command center. Solara's guards coordinated defensive measures, while Elias studied maps of the palace, identifying possible escape routes and safe zones. Leora stayed close, asking questions, learning quickly. She seemed to instinctively know when to step back, when to move, and when to trust. You are very clever for your age, Elias said, crouching beside her during a lull in the attacks. Leora shrugged. I have to be. If I don't understand, people get hurt. Elias placed a hand gently on her shoulder. Then you've already learned something very important. Understanding can save lives. Solara observed them from across the room. There was a flicker of something in her expression. Pride, perhaps, or recognition? You have a bond that goes beyond the usual, she said softly. It is rare among humans and Zithrans alike. Rare, but powerful. A sudden alert on the palace monitors drew their attention. The rogue faction had gained ground in one of the lower corridors.
Energy blasts lit up the displays.
They are advancing, Solara said. If they reach the central atrium, it will be difficult to contain them, Elias stood. Then we act now. We can't wait, Solara nodded. Agreed.
You will guide Leora. I will lead the defense.
We cannot allow them to take her. The queen moved with fluid precision, her presence commanding the palace defenders as they prepared for the incoming attack. Elias led Leora through a series of side passages, avoiding direct conflict, but remaining close enough to see the chaos unfolding. Leora's trust never wavered. She followed his lead, moving with confidence that surprised him. You're very brave, Elias whispered. Do you know that? I have to be, Leora replied.
I have to help you. I have to help everyone.
Elias felt a deep respect for her. In that moment, he realized that bravery was not about size, strength, or experience. It was about choice, and this small alien child had already made choices that could change the fate of a world. They reached a vantage point overlooking one of the palace gardens, where the rogue faction clashed with Solara's guards. The alien fighters moved with uncanny speed, dodging energy blasts and retaliating with precision. Elias could see Solara in the center, her form cutting through the chaos like a blade. They're strong, Leora said softly. They are, Elias admitted, but so are we. And you're part of that strength. She looked at him, a mixture of determination and curiosity in her eyes. Really? Really? He said. You trust me, and I trust you. That makes us stronger than anyone out there. For a moment, the sounds of battle seemed distant. Elias and Leora shared a quiet connection, a bond forming in the eye of the storm. The rogue faction may have sought to sow fear, but in that small chamber, fear had no hold. Only trust, courage, and determination remained. As night fell over Zathera, the twin suns setting in the distance, Elias realized that this was only the beginning. Protecting Leora would be difficult, navigating the palace and its politics even harder, and uncovering the truth about the project that had created her the most challenging of all. But one thought remained clear in his mind. Wherever this journey led, he would not abandon the child who had called him father. Solara, standing beside him, gave a rare, almost imperceptible nod. Perhaps, she said quietly, you are more than I imagined. Elias smiled faintly. Perhaps, he agreed. And together, human, child, and queen, they prepared for the next phase of a journey that would test their courage, their understanding, and their ability to reshape a world that had never known trust between species. Outside, the palace burned with conflict, but inside, a fragile hope had taken root, and that hope, small yet fierce, promised a future where humans and Zitherans might finally understand one another, and where a small child could change everything by simply choosing to trust. The palace was quiet, but the quiet was fragile, hanging in the air like a thin thread ready to snap. Elias led Leora down winding corridors that seemed to stretch endlessly. Each step echoed against the polished walls, a reminder that danger was never far. Though the rogue faction had been pushed back, their presence lingered like a shadow over the palace. Leora walked beside him, small but steady. Her grip on his hand was firm, and her eyes darted around, alert to every sound. Elias could see the tension in her shoulders, but he also saw determination. She was learning quickly, and he was learning how much he depended on her courage as well. Captain, Leora said softly, why did they make me? Me? Elias paused, crouching down to meet her gaze. The question was heavy, but he answered as simply as he could. They wanted someone who could understand both humans and Zytherans. Someone who could help the two worlds trust each other. Leora frowned. But I don't feel like both. I just feel scared sometimes.
You're allowed to feel scared, Elias said gently. Being brave doesn't mean you aren't scared.
It means you keep going even when you are. She looked at him, her violet eyes wide. You really mean that? I do, he said. And I mean this too. I will always protect you. No matter what happens, you're not alone. For a moment, Leora smiled faintly, a fragile glow in the middle of uncertainty. Elias felt a warmth in his chest, realizing how much he cared for this small alien child who had called him father. She trusted him completely, and he had to live up to that trust. They reached a wide observation chamber that overlooked the palace's inner courtyard. The twin suns were low on the horizon, casting long shadows across crystalline gardens. Elias could see the aftermath of the skirmishes below. Burned patches of ground, guards tending to the injured, and a few rogue faction members retreating into the palace's deeper tunnels. We need to know more, Elias said, tracing his finger along a map of the palace projected in the chamber's holographic display. If the faction wants Leora, they won't stop. We have to be ready for anything. Solara appeared at his side, her presence commanding, yet calm. The faction is not only dangerous, they are clever. They have studied the palace for generations, and they understand Zytheran weaknesses.
Elias frowned. Then we need information.
Everything we can find about their plans, their numbers, and why they fear her so much. The Queen nodded. There is something you should know. The project that created Leora, your daughter, as she calls you, was not simply a union of biology. It was a symbol, a message to the future that humans and Zytherans could work together. That message threatens old beliefs, and that threat is why the faction is so persistent. Elias exhaled slowly, the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. Then we can't fail. Not her, not the Queen, not the future. Solara studied him silently for a moment. You speak with conviction, human. Perhaps that is why she recognized you. Perhaps that is why she called you father. Leora watched the two of them, her small hands gripping Elias's arm. Does she mean I'm really yours? Does she mean I'm really yours? Elias knelt to her level. I don't know how or why it happened, Leora.
But I do know one thing. You trust me. And I trust you.
That's what matters. The child nodded slowly, her confidence growing in small increments. She turned her gaze to the large windows that looked out over the palace grounds. Then, let's stop them, she said firmly. Elias's eyebrows lifted in surprise. Are you sure? Yes, she said. I can't just run away anymore. I want to help. Her courage reminded Elias of something he had long forgotten. Humans had the ability to face impossible odds, not because they were the strongest, but because they refused to give up. He realized Leora had inherited that determination in her own way. They spent the next hours gathering intelligence, speaking with palace guards and reviewing patrol reports. Leora absorbed every detail, her memory sharp and her mind curious. Elias could see her piecing together strategies, recognizing patterns, and anticipating movements. She was learning at a pace that astonished him, but he also realized how much he relied on her instincts. As night fell fully over Zythera, the palace lights glowed softly, reflecting off the crystalline towers. The rogue faction had retreated for the time being, but their presence still loomed like a storm waiting to break. Elias and Leora were walking through a quieter corridor when a faint sound caught their attention. A soft, almost musical hum. Leora froze, listening. Do you hear that? She whispered. Elias nodded. I do. It's coming from the central archives. The archives were vast, containing records that went back hundreds of years. They were guarded carefully, but Elias knew that the information there could explain Leora's origins, the secret project, and possibly the faction's plans. They moved cautiously through the halls, keeping to shadows and using the palace's quiet moments to their advantage. The hum grew louder, and Elias realized it wasn't just sound, it was a form of energy vibrating through the walls and floors. Leora's eyes widened. "It feels alive," she said. "That's Zithera." Elias said quietly. "This planet reacts to those who move through it. The palace itself can sense intentions." They entered the archive chamber. Rows upon rows of crystalline data columns stretched into the distance, each glowing softly with information. Elias reached out to touch one, and the data projected into the air, forming holographic images and text. He scanned quickly, seeking anything that could explain Leora's unique abilities. Solera's voice echoed softly in the chamber. "Be careful. These records are old, and some knowledge can be dangerous if misused." Elias nodded. "I understand." As they examined the records, a pattern became clear. Leora was created not only as a bridge, but as a key, a living archive of Zitharan history and human ingenuity. Her very existence contained knowledge, instincts, and intuition that could help prevent conflict and guide the future of both species. Leora looked at him, eyes wide. "So, I was made to—"
Help everyone? Yes, Elias said. And that's why they fear you.
"They think if you succeed, everything will change. They don't want change." She nodded slowly, absorbing the weight of her purpose. "Then I can't let them stop me." Elias placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "And you won't have to. We'll face them together." Suddenly, an alarm blared throughout the archive chamber. A group of rogue faction members had found a secondary entrance. They were moving fast, their energy weapons glowing in the dim light. Elias grabbed Leora's hand, pulling her behind a column for cover. "They're here," he whispered. "Stay close." The faction advanced cautiously, unaware of the humans hiding among the archives. Elias scanned the room, looking for ways to distract or outmaneuver them. He noticed a series of energy conduits running along the floor and walls. A quick calculation told him he could create a temporary blockade by redirecting a small portion of the conduit's energy. He signaled to Leora. I need you to help me. Can you do that?" She nodded without hesitation. "Yes, Babby." Together they moved swiftly, Leora guiding him through the columns, while Elias manipulated the conduits. Energy arcs sparked, creating a shimmering barrier between them and the faction. The attackers hesitated, giving Elias and Leora precious moments to escape deeper into the archives. Solara's voice came through a communicator. "Well done. You are proving yourself capable, human. And you, child, are learning faster than I imagined."
Elias smiled faintly.
"We're a team," he said, looking down at Leora. For a brief moment, they allowed themselves a sense of triumph, but Elias knew the danger was far from over. The faction would regroup. The palace still needed defending, and Leora's role as a bridge between species meant they would always be a target. He led Leora to a secure chamber within the archives, a place where information about her origins and the secret project was stored. She looked around in awe. "This is all about me?" "Yes," Elias said. "And learning it will help you understand who you are and how much power you have to shape the future." As Leora began examining the records, Elias stayed close, ready to protect her. He realized that knowledge, courage, and trust were their greatest weapons. The rogue faction might be strong, but they underestimated the bond between human and child, the strength of someone who truly cared. Hours passed as Leora absorbed the information, asking questions, and piecing together the story of her creation. Elias watched her, amazed by her determination. She was not just a bridge. She was a guide, a protector, and a symbol. And he, as her chosen guardian, was learning the meaning of responsibility in ways he had never imagined. Finally, Leora looked up at him. "I understand now," she said softly.
I know why they fear me.
But I also know what I have to do.
Elias nodded, feeling a surge of pride.
And I will be with you every step of the way.
Solara appeared at the entrance of the chamber, her expression solemn. You have both grown stronger tonight. The path ahead will be dangerous, but perhaps, with trust and courage, we can overcome it. Elias looked at her, and then at Leora. The journey was far from over, but for the first time, he felt a glimmer of hope. They had survived the attacks, uncovered secrets, and formed a bond that no faction could break. Outside, Zithra's twin moons began to rise, casting a serene glow over the palace. Inside, human and child prepared for the challenges ahead, knowing that their courage, trust, and understanding might be the only thing capable of saving the future of two worlds. And in the quiet hum of the archives, Elias realized that Leora had not only chosen him as her father, but had also chosen a future where humans and Zitherans could finally learn to trust one another. The palace was quiet in the early hours before dawn, but the stillness felt temporary, like the calm before a storm. Elias stood at the edge of the inner courtyard, Leora at his side. Both of them were tense, yet determined. The rogue faction had regrouped after their failed attacks, but the palace's defenses, guided by Solara's wisdom and Elias's strategic thinking, were stronger than ever. "We need a plan," Elias said, his voice low.
They won't stop until they achieve their goal, and that goal is Leora.
Leora nodded, her small hands gripping his tightly.
Then we stop them first.
The child's confidence bolstered Elias. She had learned quickly in the past hours, understanding not only how the palace worked, but also how to move unseen, how to anticipate danger, and how to use the environment to their advantage. Despite her age, she was remarkably clever and observant. Solara appeared beside them, her expression resolute. "The rogue faction underestimates you, Captain. And they underestimate her. That is their weakness." Elias looked at her, surprise flickering across his face. "They do?" Solara nodded.
Yes, their loyalty is to tradition, not to reason or courage.
And yet, courage and reason will be enough to defeat them. Together, the three of them moved through the palace, heading to a vantage point that overlooked the main gates. The rogue faction was gathering in small groups, clearly planning a coordinated strike. Their energy weapons glowed faintly as they prepared to advance. "They think they can overwhelm us," Elias whispered to Leora. "But they don't know what we're capable of." She nodded.
Then we show them. As the first light of the twin suns touched the crystalline towers, Solara raised her hand. A low hum vibrated through the palace, as though the structure itself was awakening.
The walls shimmered with energy, and defensive mechanisms activated automatically. The rogue faction hesitated, sensing the sudden shift in the environment. Elias turned to Leora. "Stay close to me. Watch and learn." She did, her eyes wide, but focused. Together, they moved forward, coordinating with Solara and the palace guards. The rogue faction advanced, but every move they made was anticipated. Energy barriers blocked their paths, and guards appeared where the attackers least expected. The battle was tense, but controlled. Elias realized that brute force was unnecessary. Strategy, patience, and coordination were their greatest weapons. And in the center of it all, Leora remained calm, her instincts guiding her, helping them predict the faction's movements before they happened. At one point, a small group of attackers tried to flank the palace's eastern wall. Elias signaled to Leora, who ran silently to intercept them. Using clever distractions and quick thinking, she led the faction members into a harmless energy trap, immobilizing them long enough for the palace guards to secure them. Solara watched the scene, her eyes filled with pride. "The child is extraordinary," she whispered. Elias looked down at Leora, a small smile on his face.
Extraordinary indeed.
"You did perfectly." She blushed faintly but didn't look away. "I learned from you," she said. Elias felt a warmth in his chest. She trusted him completely, and he had guided her well. But the battle was not over. The rogue faction's leader, a tall Zithran with piercing eyes and flowing silver hair, advanced toward the main gates, clearly intending to confront Solara directly.
"We need to stop him," Elias said. "Before he reaches the queen." Solara nodded. "I will engage him."
You protect Leora and ensure the palace remains secure. The queen moved with grace and precision, her energy powers flaring as she met the rogue leader in the courtyard. Sparks of violet and silver danced across the stone as their weapons clashed, each strike measured and deliberate. The duel was fierce but elegant, a display of skill rather than savagery. Elias and Leora remained behind a protective barrier, observing. Leora's eyes were wide with awe. "She's so strong," she whispered. "She is," Elias said quietly. "But strength alone isn't enough. Strategy and courage matter more. And we have both." Outside the barrier, the rogue leader attempted a final desperate strike. Solara anticipated it, countering with a precise maneuver that disarmed him without causing harm. The leader fell to his knees, stunned, his ambition defeated by skill and planning rather than violence. The remaining faction members, seeing their leader subdued, hesitated. Many dropped their weapons, unwilling to continue without direction. The palace guards moved in, securing the intruders while Solara stood tall, victorious. Elias stepped forward, opening the protective barrier to Leora. "The danger is over," he said. "For now." She let out a sigh of relief, hugging his arm tightly. "We did it," she said softly. Solara approached, her expression calm and proud.
"Yes, you both did."
"But this is more than a victory in battle. It is a victory of trust, courage, and understanding."
You have proven that humans and Zithrans can work together, that bonds can overcome fear. Elias looked at her.
And Leora, she played a big part in this. She was incredible. The queen smiled faintly. "Indeed. She is the symbol of what our species can achieve together, and she chose well. She recognized who could guide her, and in doing so, she has changed the course of history." Leora looked up at Elias, her small hands holding his. "I chose you," she said softly, "because I trust you." Elias knelt beside her, brushing a strand of silver hair from her face. "And I'll never let you down, Leora. Never." Outside, the first light of Zathera's morning sun gleamed on the crystalline towers. The palace, once threatened by internal strife, now stood as a beacon of unity. Guards patrolled confidently, the rogue faction members secured, and the citizens of the palace began to emerge, their faces reflecting cautious hope. Solara turned to Elias. "You have done more than protect her. You have shown what humans are capable of. Courage, intelligence, and compassion. These are your strengths, and now they are visible to all who witness them."
Elias nodded, feeling a mixture of pride and humility. "I only did what I had to do." "No," the queen said firmly.
"You did more. You showed that trust and understanding can build bridges stronger than any wall or weapon. You have given our people hope." Leora tugged gently at his hand. "Can we see the palace gardens now?" she asked. "I want to show you something." Elias smiled, allowing her to lead the way. They stepped into the gardens where crystalline trees glowed faintly and rivers of liquid crystal shimmered in the sunlight. Birds, strange and beautiful, flew overhead, singing in harmony with the hum of the planet. It was peaceful here, a stark contrast to the chaos of the previous hours. Leora stopped at a small hill overlooking the palace grounds. "This is my favorite place," she said softly.
I come here when I need to think.
Elias knelt beside her.
It's beautiful, he said.
And quiet. Perfect for thinking. She looked up at him, her eyes thoughtful.
I want to help everyone, Captain. I want humans and Zitherans to work together, to trust each other like we do.
Elias felt a swell of pride.
Then we will make it happen, Leora. Together.
The Queen approached quietly, watching them. Perhaps the future of our world is brighter than I imagined, she said softly, because you have reminded us all of the power of courage and trust. It's not just me, it's Leora, too. She's the one who showed us what's possible. Solare nodded, smiling faintly. Yes, she's extraordinary, and with guidance she will lead us into a new era. The sun rose fully over Zithera, casting light across the palace gardens. Elias, Leora, and Solara stood together. 3 figures bound by trust, courage, and a shared purpose. The rogue faction had been defeated, but the larger challenge remained. Building a future where humans and Zitherans could coexist in understanding and harmony. Leora ran ahead, her laughter ringing through the gardens as she explored freely. Elias followed, watching her with admiration and a quiet sense of responsibility. She had chosen him as her father, and in doing so, she had chosen a path of hope, courage, and unity. Solara walked beside him, her hand resting briefly on his shoulder. You have done well, human. Perhaps the bridge between our species is stronger than we ever imagined. Elias nodded. We've only just begun. But with her, with trust, and with courage, anything is possible. The palace, once a symbol of rigid hierarchy and fear, now stood as a beacon of possibility. Humans and Zitherans had faced their doubts, their fears, and their differences, and through it, they had found common ground. And at the center of it all, a small child with silver-tinted skin, calling a human father, had become the spark that ignited hope for a new era. As Elias watched Leora run freely through the gardens, he realized that this was more than a victory. It was the beginning of something greater, a story of trust, courage, and unity that would be remembered for generations. And in that moment, he understood what it truly meant to be human, to protect, to guide, to trust, and to believe that even across the stars, family could be found in the most unexpected places. And so, the human, the child, and the Queen stood together, ready to face the future. The palace hummed with life, the world outside brimming with potential. And a new era began, one where courage, understanding, and the bonds of trust would shape the destiny of 2 worlds.